Greetings and God bless. Sorry for the noise there. I wanted to compare New York City to Rapid City, South Dakota. I've just been watching these live streams of people just walk and talk or just walking. And I noticed that there's, of course, a lot of pedestrians and drivers stop because there's these big pedestrian crosswalks. I mean, I don't know, maybe 20 feet long, and there's also just a lot of people crossing the street. I also noticed that there's people walking alone, and when there are homeless people, the homeless people are basically sitting down, or yeah, they're just sitting down, rather than in a gang and coming up to people. I have not seen that in the walk and talks that I have been watching. And it's very different experience than being here, living here in Rapid City, where there's gangs of homeless people and they're walking. And it's interesting because the past few days I have been seeing police driving around, right? Now, they are around. I have noticed police are around when the weather is nice. And when it's a cold, overcast, windy day, I never see the police around. But we do see the aggressive homeless people out and about. So I'm thinking, it's interesting that New York, which is known for being such a difficult place, such a dangerous place, it appears safer than uh, here in South Dakota. And I just, I'm thinking that it's like there's it's challenging. It's challenging to live in any city, and I've been planning on relocating for some time. And every city has crazy rents, and there's crazy rents. It's not walkable, or it's crazy rents and it's walkable. And I'm just thinking, I'm seeing all these. New York is the melting pot of the country, and I'm seeing immigrants that it's clear in because I grew up in New York City. I can tell, the person who's born here and the person who just moved here, who just got off the boat, so to speak, or like like an immigrant from Africa. You can kind of tell, or an immigrant from the Middle East or something like that, um, or China. And so I'm sitting here and I'm noticing that people from uh, like countries that are less developed, I guess you could say, or I mean, I'm like walking on eggshells because people would be offended if I said third world country, because that could be considered offensive. But what I'm noticing is that somebody whose country people make $1 a day, let's say, but they're able to move here and they're able to live in New York City, whereas I grew up in New York City and I can't seem to get a foothold in there. Like somehow I'm blocked from returning to my hometown. And yeah, and I mean, every time I've tried moving back, it's been very challenging because the rents are crazy. Um, but it seems anywhere to live anywhere. Like investors and landlords are just insane and greedy, and they're not um, providing housing that corresponds with the wage that people make in the area. And the thing is, it seems I have heard that property management companies are using Seattle city incomes for a place like Rapid. where people there's not a whole lot of work here in Rapid, and it's about like the tourist industry or the hospital or the schools, and these aren't very fancy hospitals and schools or tourist traps. So these are not Silicon Valley types here in Rapid City, but that is what the local property management companies here in Rapid are using as their metric for what to charge for rent. And they're just assuming that people who are escaping from New York or California, that they're just going to make sure that they harvest as much money from those people relocating. I'm guessing, but the thing is, those people who are relocating are not going to be renting. Generally, they're buying a house. So I don't know. It's a conspiracy, and I'm just thinking, you know, if I'm gonna kill myself to try to find a place to live, why not be somewhere great? I'm tired of these crappy cities. And New York has a lot of crappy things about it, but from just to be able to walk around safely on the sidewalk, that would be a big improvement, and it'd definitely be a big improvement from Rapid. I mean, I think Rapid has it's been the worst city ever as a pedestrian in my experience of a feeling of safety. I mean, I've had like stressful times, of course, growing up in New York or living in San Francisco, where it felt threatening. But there would always be like I would just walk a few more blocks and I'd feel fine. But here, it's just like if it's not aggressive homeless people, it's every like 7 feet there's a driveway and an impatient driver who is blocking the driveway or rolling through the driveway as you're approaching on the sidewalk. I mean, it's just I guess it's the drivers. I mean, it's the combination, the drivers and the homeless people, because if it's not one thing, it's another. And the weather, 60-mile-an-hour wind, and there's no place to kind of take a break. Like if you're walking anywhere, like there's just like a onesie, twosie, like coffee shop or something like that. So it's like there's just no break if you're trying to get around. It's just not a hospitable city, and yeah, I mean, and when you're not car dependent, if you don't have a car, it's really noticeable. Like if we transplanted a whole bunch of people from New York here who didn't have a car, they would hate it as well. And I like being a pedestrian. I like walking, and a lot of people don't. And so, anyways, this is my little comparison, and I'm trying to encourage myself to try to make this change to go to New York, because it seems like the craziest idea, especially since they're very into the masks and into the injection, and that is the last thing I want. But I want to walk around. Um, I want to be safe crossing the street. And so I might just be in New York for a brief time. So, and maybe I'll find a better city that's even better than New York. So we'll see. Thanks for listening. God bless.